Welcome to the Handed Down Kitchen, where we bring recipes out of the past and back into the kitchen. Today we're going to share with you a World War I era recipe for steak and kidney pie made the old-fashioned way. Steak and kidney pie is a traditional British dish. Its origins are in the 19th century, and steak and kidney has remained one of Britain's main savoury pie fillings ever since then. We found this recipe in the hot meat dishes chapter of our copy of a second Dudley book of recipes by Georgina Ward, the Countess of Dudley. There's a note at the end of this recipe saying you can also use it to make veal and ham pies, pigeon pies and rabbit pies, so if you don't like the sound of steak and kidney, there are plenty more options. To make this pie you'll need the following ingredients: 1 pound of steak cut into slices, 150 grams of either ox or sheep's kidney that has been diced, a bowl of plain flour mixed with salt and pepper, some small scraps of fat taken from the steak, some puff or rough puff pastry, 1 egg yolk, some milk, and about 300 millilitres of either beef stock or water. To fill our pie dish, the steps are as follows. Take a strip of steak, roll it in the seasoned flour, then take a piece of kidney and put it into the middle of your floured strip of steak, put a bit of fat on top of the kidney, then roll up the steak around the kidneys and fat and put it into the pie dish. Coming back to the ingredients, the recipe says to use rump steak, but chuck steak is also perfect for this, which under our butcher's guidance is what we're using. It's also best to use ox kidney if you can get hold of some, so the flavours are nice and beefy throughout the pie. The reason why the pie is filled this way is so there's a proportionate amount of steak and kidney to fat throughout the pie filling. The biggest difference between this recipe and modern ones is that there's no frying to brown the meat before it goes into the pie dish, and no fillings really other than meat. With the filling done, we're going to roll out the pastry to the thickness of about half a centimetre. We made 1 pound of puff pastry the night before using an 84-year-old recipe we used a couple of months back to make 1930s sausage rolls. We only used about half of this amount, the rest went into making an apple pie later on. Cut a long strip or two of pastry that are long enough to go around the rim of your pie dish. Then use this pastry to line the rim, which we've dampened with some water. Make sure that your pastry is behind the meat and flat against the pie dish. Then brush the pastry edge over with some milk. And pour in enough stock or water to come halfway up the pie dish. Lay enough of the rest of your pastry over the top of the pie to cover it, and then just trim off the excess. The recipe doesn't tell us how to clamp the pastry lining to the top, so we're just pinching these together the old-fashioned way to make a simple scalloped edge. Make a small incision in the centre of the pastry top so the steam can escape as it bakes. Cut the scraps of pastry into leaves with little pastry cutters and then use these to decorate the top of your pie. Brush the top over with an egg yolk before popping into the oven to bake at 180 degrees Celsius, which is 350 Fahrenheit or gas mark 4, for 1.5 hours, lowering the temperature after the first half hour to keep the pastry from burning. 1.5 hours later, it's ready, and as pretty as it is, this is one hearty meat pie. A slice of this will definitely keep you going. The pastry is perfect. We'll put our 1930s sausage roll recipe at the end of this video if you'd like to make it the same way, and the meat filling is so lovely and tender. The kidney flavour doesn't overpower the steak, and the extra fat gives it just a little more juice. The recipe was gorgeous when it was published well over a century ago, and to this day it still is. We hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave us a like, and if you'd like to see us recreate more antique or old recipes, be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can also find full instructions for this recipe and many more on our website, linked in the description box below.